Attractiveness on dating apps is obviously a huge thing. Like, we're not going to get past that point. It is what it is. But the thing is that Hinge actually does a pretty good job at getting you at least some matches if you know what you're doing. But a lot of guys don't know what they're doing. There's some very big, often overlooked mistakes that a lot of them make, and we're going to go over exactly what those are so you can make a quick adjustment that will make a noticeable boost to the amount of matches that you get. But right before we get into that, I want to touch on something that is just very, very important. So here's a guy named William Pugh, and I want to show you what he looked like before a little bit of work. And there's a huge difference. A huge difference. Completely different person. Now, you might think this is like an extreme case, and it is. But he combined a few very important changes. The first, of course, is fat loss. But as you can see here, it makes just a huge amount of difference. It's crazy how much fat loss you can just like chisel out. Like, you become a different person. In the last picture here, the guy also has a way better hairstyle. That's another big thing. Like, even this guy with the receding hairline looks so much better. Here's a couple more too. Next, growing a beard. That's another big thing. It strengthens your jawline too. And if you have trouble growing like a fuller, thicker beard, I recommend getting minoxidil, which is Rogaine, but Rogaine is just very, very expensive. It's the brand name of it, but it just helps it come in thicker. There's a whole subreddit about it. I won't like talk a bunch about it here, but check it out if you want to, because it does make a big difference. But don't do what I did years ago and grow a beard like crazy without understanding the basics of how to trim it properly. But yeah, when you put these together, you get like what Jonah Hill got, which is good beard, hair, glasses. You know, the tan definitely helps. And here's another example too. Got rid of his glasses, got a way better hairstyle, better clothes. He got rid of a bad beard. However, I used Gemini to add one back, a proper looking one. And yeah, he looks like way more manly with a proper one. He looks like a completely different person. Like, you would see his first pictures and say that he's locked in as a 4 or 5 or whatever you want to say. But no, he put effort in and he got the results out of it. Now, I'll get to the Hinge advice in a second, but I just had to say this because for the average guy, his ceiling for how good he can look is nowhere near what he thinks. Like, you think it's just like locked in. I'm not an expert at this by any means, but I consistently see it. The guys that I help, that just some subtle changes makes them a completely different person. And I think if most guys knew how good they can look, they would just be fucking locked in tomorrow. They would just go to the gym. They would just get it all figured out because they could actually see their ceiling. And that's the thing. If you can manage to lock in, say fuck the dating apps. Fuck them, you know. You don't need them. You can just work on yourself for a bit. Make 2026 your year and just go get it. But if you also just want to optimize what you have and start getting some matches too, because that is very motivating of itself, then let's get right to it, because I've been pushing this off in the video too long. Now, all of this isn't really too much work. I always see pushback like, oh, you know, we shouldn't take this much time to find somebody. But like, this is like choosing the mother of your son, your potential wife. This is a big deal. You can grind away at your career and have nothing happen for it or just get fired. But your dating life should like be taken just as seriously. And the thing is, it really doesn't take nearly as much time to actually make a noticeable improvement. But let's actually get to what I'm talking about. So first, no matter what, like at least 30 profiles a day, which means getting Hinge X. Make sure you actually press X on some profiles too. Don't just power swipe yes. Secondly, only say long-term relationship or life partner for what you're looking for. It just pushes women away that aren't actually interested in a serious relationship. Third, be lenient on deal breakers. This means be willing to travel, at least in the beginning, a little bit farther out than you'd like. You know, be willing to date somebody a little bit older than you'd like, at least in the beginning. Get those matches. Fourth, don't skip out on voice prompts. Profiles with voice prompts are 32% more likely to lead to a date. This was data released by Hinge. And they also released something that voice notes have a similar stat. And I've just started using them too. And I think a good tip about voice notes, if you don't know, this is like when you're messaging somebody, you can just leave a voice note just of your voice talking to them. And I think saying their name just hits hard. Like, it's a good thing, because I've got a few voice notes And it's just nice when somebody, when you hear like a very feminine voice say your name, even if you've heard it a million times before, it hits harder. I think it's a good tip. 6, share very specific things about yourself in your prompt. You want a woman to read your profile and be like, oh my God, he's into that too. I have to talk to him. Because if you're instead sharing traits, like you're kind or that you're just empathetic or that, you're sharing what you're looking for, that doesn't do anything. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't catch your eye. It doesn't say to her that, oh my God, I got to talk to this guy. It's just like useless information that really isn't relevant until you actually start dating them. And 7, with messaging, don't get fixated on a single match. Over 90% fail. They won't go anywhere. They fizzle out. And that's like a big trap because a lot of guys, they'll just like get fixated. And, maybe if you're very inexperienced, you can have like one-itis basically from a woman seeming interested in a match. Like, regardless, don't sacrifice swiping every day and always try to suggest a date within a dozen messages. But if an average guy does this, he'll be golden. He'll be golden. It's just sticking with a reasonably simple amount of information. Strategy. It's not even really strategy. It's just knowing the ins and outs. But otherwise, if you want a super deep dive into all of this, I'll have a video link right now. Otherwise, I'll talk to you soon.